Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
Will the plasma car be available to purchase in the next few years? And if so, would it be manufactured by collaborating with existing companies in the car industry?
We have, Mr. Moss of Tesla is invited to London conference. He'll be invited to London conference. We specifically have targeted him through our promoters, and they have their own ways of accessing him because they're American structure. Chinese car manufacturers are aware of this technology. We've been offered percentage of the car production, but we don't want to go to electric car. We want to prepare companies like Tesla and the Chinese operations to go into what we call a flight system, not levitation. Last night in the meeting with some of the high-ranking people, we were talking about this, that he said we'd have levitation, you have the mechanical. I said, this American Marine done in 1975. Now you have to do it with the plasma. Now you don't use any energy. And it's inevitable. In next 2 years, Keshe Foundation will start saying, we have to complete cycle of our work in China. And I'll be spending more and more in China as the development takes place. And our target is parallel development, space technology, defense technology, and public use of the technology. Where we can reach, we can actually make difference. But you have to understand this nation is the most conservative nation in the world. Everything has to be step by step, and we understand their work now, so we take our time. But 25, 26 to see the first systems who use magnetic technology in China is not far reach. We're trying to show it very soon, but in mass production, it'll come in. Electric cars are obsolete. November is coming up. This is November 2011. We were prepared to show it in Eindhoven. Um, 12 years later, we'll be most probably showing it to you in Beijing conference. Because once it's shown, the technology is shown, replicating it in such a simple way is a mass production. Levitation by magnets was shown practically going to the internet. You find in 1975. American Marine showed how they can, but creating positions. and other science have shown it. But through plasma technology, which doesn't need any energy, is a different way, and you will see this. It'll be very simple. It's the simplicity of it is amazing, because we should have allowed to show this in 2023, and in 11 in Eindhoven. The way it works is very simple. I'm just waiting for the whiteboard to come up for you to understand. Well, maybe soon wouldn't have changed this rubbish. You have a vehicle, and you have the road. Present technology today puts a vehicle on what you call very good 1950s cars. Now it's more sophisticated, but it's the same principle. It puts the car on shock absorbers. And if you look at the top view of this car, you have what they call the cage, human cage inside. You have 4 shock absorbers in the system. We place the shock absorbers, the same structure shock absorbers, with the maglev system, which means we can lift the car in 4 corners. There is a central control in here, which decides what fields ratio will change that you turn left or right. The work we did with the scientists at Ghent University years ago, and the work they've done in that way, shows 200 kilogram, 5 centimeter maximum is safe and acceptable by elderly and by people who have the fear of whatever, because you have to carry, you can't have levitation cars and then ordinary cars in the same manner. You have to change gradually, but it has to be done. So you literally place a 4 maglev system on either side. The speed of the running it is very simple. These maglev system create enough energy. Don't forget, when you are 5 centimeters or even 1 centimeter off the ground, you're a feather. Literally 2 hair dryers can dictate your speed, if you look at it that way, but it's more complicated. The same way as we see in, what do you call it, ships. We have winds which then blow which way and to what the speed you can go. Left, right, you want to do it the way or the speed. The reverse is the same. This is the simplest way to get these things on the road immediately. More complicated, more advanced system will come in the future, which these ones are not needed. And then because you create a magnetic field, and this magnetic field on its own has created its own star formation, if you see it, this has a central effect, which has a motion, which will have a motion. You will understand it in time to come. So if you have a child crossing as a soul, will avoid it. In a bigger way, mechanical way, if you have another car with the same shock absorber next to you, they avoid each other. The process of accident becomes very rare. And this is how the process will carry on. And this, making these reactors cost less than $10. And once you fuel them to run, they will run for decades. So it's not far-fetched, it's literally on our tail. It's just that then what do the government have to decide how these are implemented? and how they will they bring these things into operation. It will change a lot. It will bring new dimensions. The cost of manufacturing of cars will drop by maybe as much as 80%, because it's just what you furniture inside. You can get a wooden cardboard and put it on it and you still go the same. And the pollution will come to more or less to zero. The accident rates will reduce drastically. And it's a transition of accepting and what to do. On the back of this will come the shipping, which in a way, if you look at it, you still want to ship a car container from China to, let's say, US. You don't need to have the ship actually sitting on the water. You can create a habitation that still uses a free path for it and goes. Once you create that lift, doesn't matter if you're 1 kilo or 1 ton, it doesn't make any difference. It will not make any difference. A lot of things will change with this development, this technology. We have the system. It's just that step at a time. 24, 25, 26, we see time for this to come. And then there is huge, huge investments, billions of dollars, which now has gone into producing batteries for electric cars. These electric cars need continuous charging, wasted batteries, replacing batteries, and all this goes through the window. And we actually working on to show this in one of the conferences. Weight reduction system, what was supposed to be shown in Eindhoven. And then you understand what this will implement and the implication of it and the application of it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 509th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, October 26, 2023. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation, Spaceship Institute, Education Department, and part of the public teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond, and I'll be host once again in this weekly series of Knowledge Seekers Workshops. And once again, we have the honor of having Mr. Mehran Keshe here as our special guest, once again, in over 508 times so far. And I think he's ready to continue with today's workshop. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Can you take over, please?
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning, good day to you, as usual.
wherever, whenever you listen to this series of knowledge seekers from Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. We welcome you back, and as usual, we create you more headache, and we'll see how you solve these headaches, and one day these headaches will become pleasurable. The pain of it is that we cannot understand it fully, so we have to cope with it. One day we'll understand it, one day it becomes useful, but we still battle with it. In the science of today, in the knowledge of today, in understanding how we move, how we transmute, how we transport ourselves, is part of, it's a cornerstones of the work of our teachings. The teaching, according to many of you, knowledge is going too fast, and some of us are getting bored. We are not going that fast. We want to jump, we want to fly, we want to go all places. The flying and jumping and the rest of it, it's much closer than we can imagine as technologies are getting developed, and the evolution in science goes on. You got to understand, a lot of companies, a lot of organizations use the knowledge as a teaching, and then they add other bits to it, and it appears on a different type of technologies, but essentially is Keshe Foundation knowledge we brought in, and the enlightenment and the knowledge they have received. One thing which is important for many of us, and in one of the teachings in the past I refer to it, is that when you travel, when you go from one position to another, when you decide to go by a, let's say, UFO or one of the entity, and then decide to convert to the soul transmutation and come back again in a physical dimension and then move, in so many ways, very much is like going on top of a cliff or going on top of the mountain. You walk it all the way up, you're too tired, you don't want to do, so I use my soul to get down. It took you days to get up, but now you had enough, it gets too cold, it's too windy, physicality suffers. I use nowadays parachute. Today I know how to do it, I use my soul. So the most important thing is what happened when you make a jump in the dimension of the soul and you land up in the middle of the storm, how to get yourself out. How you, instead of landing on the surface, you find yourself 20 meters below the ground, in a cave, in a hole, whatever. These are all going to happen to us. We are not all mature, as we have accidents today by the climbers and divers. Well, we're still the same. We still make these minor mistakes, and how do we adjust it? And how do we get ourselves out of it? And what is the emotion which plays this? You might find yourself in a stone and say, oh, I didn't want to come here, but it's much nicer. I want to stay. And how do you let know others that you're alive, but you're hiding in the stone? And these are not a fairy tale, not fancy, but sooner or later, one by one of your knowledge seekers and your next generation has to handle it, has to live with it, because we are, even in 1,000 years, 10,000 years, infants in this knowledge of the creation. But what actually happens to us? How do the energies stay separate? How does the soul of the man in its field dimension keeps the soul of physicality in dimension separate? They don't become one. And what happens when they become one? What happens as, in a way, energy packs amalgamate? Fusion in a matter state is impossibility. Doesn't matter how you play it. If you understand the principle, you can create accidents, you can do whatever you like. But fusing to come under one impossible in the matter state. But fusion in the energy state, in balancing the fields, is everyday occurrence. This is why scientists have not realized, if they go into the dimension of energy and then amalgamate the field forces, they can come out as the fusion, then the matter state. And this is what in a coming time we will teach, we develop by the scientists in production of alloys, in production of new materials. We don't melt anymore the zinc and the copper and something else to get an alloy to make, let's say, bronze. In a transformation, in transmutation, we mix the energies, and then in that conversion, you get an alloy. This is what the obesos are said to do. And this is a secret which we have never taught. We will not teach this last part till man is ready, because it has a lot of implication, it has a lot of application. You suddenly convert a huge mass into what you call energy into mass, and then the mass cannot hold, cannot take, cannot handle. For example, as an energy, you're an energy pack. But if I convert you and you make a mistake in conversion and become a mass, and then you suddenly are a ton or 10 ton, and you appear on the plane, you know what happens to the plane. The crash is inevitable because it's not programmed for it. So these are the things that man needs to understand. These are part of the technology. How we allow new science to be developed? This way, you use all the furnaces to melt the metals, measure them, put them together, and then cast them, and then do something else with them, and then you get it, and then you have to cut it, you have to shape it, you have to do everything with it to change it into usable item, and all the energy and all the fat goes into it. Where with the plasma technology, you convert, you extract the energy from the space into the box, and in the box you convert it to matter state, to the shape you want. There is no conversion, there is no refinery, there is no work to do to create bars of copper and the rest of it, and then in future use it. Now we see how much this new technology will change us. When now you buy a washing machine, you have to have a motor, you have to have a power supply for it. If you understand how to use the new energy for even washing your clothes, you'll be baffled. All you need to do, you put your clothes in the box, and the box is programmed for so many energy transfers at all levels. The dirt as energy lifts you from your clothing. There's no need for water. There is no need for new ways of doing things. Now you understand what is coming. These are all in part of the patterns which is done years ago. In different ways, we have touched it. So how do we do it? How do we create that dimension of the field energy that even touches the matter state? How do we come to see the evolution in the science that will touch all our lives? In every aspect of life. From the animal in the jungles, from the man on the streets, from the bird in the sky, everything will be touched by this new technology, but not in a way new, always been there. We are created out of it. Now we understand it. It's the comprehension of the development in man's, what we call level of understanding of his own creation. To what extent, to what limit we can expand this, it all depends, as I always said, into your own level of understanding, and trusting what understood does what it says, and I can create it that way. Knowledge seekers who work with us have seen how I work. We need something, I said, this needs to be done, and you get what you spend years producing the ganses and whatever is done within seconds. But if you don't understand the basis, the top is very hard, and then using it the way it should. How we actually convert a matter into energy? All we do, we create an environment for the plasma of the matter state to open up and manifest itself as an energy in its dimension. Isn't this what you call it gas production? When you produce ganses of copper, isn't this the way we absorb fields as a CO2 or at the others. And then we understand more about the facts about the dimensions of creation. This is what, when I explained to you, go back weeks and weeks ago with a collaboration, with new collaborations, you will have 3,000, 4,000, 10,000 new items from the Keshe Foundation, because even your washing machine is not needed anymore. You don't have water, it doesn't wash. If it's not heated, it doesn't do. If you don't buy detergent, it doesn't do. You can imagine the hot water, the motor, the spinning, the detergents and everything else, the softener, all goes through the window. And the beauty with this technology, the beauty with it is, once if you understand it, there is no dynamic system. We can make it all solid state. Then this brings you to the next step of the science technology development. To what extent we will extend the knowledge. To what extent we extend to what we had up to now to change. We saw at the beginning as an intro about the car. Now you can imagine what happens with your cooking. Would any of you ever cook? Or would we create an environment with like 2 headphones, 2 microphones, 2 speakers in the room, and continuously releases energies that we need? We've seen certain races of men suffer from certain diseases because their environment doesn't create the energy or magnetic field that they need. Now with the system, you don't see these diseases because it's always there. Because the system provides it. Would we change shape? Would it change our emotion? Would it take out of our worries when you don't need to worry about food, feeding yourself, what's going to be next, what things I have to do to just keep alive? If you understand the life of the man on this planet is one of the most miserable ways to live anywhere in the universe. You open your eyes. You have to feed yourself. And to feed yourself, you have to do anything to keep that food on the table, that you have enough energy to wake up next day, next week, next month. So 80% of the man's life, even subconsciously or consciously, spends on survival. When you have these systems, that goes out of the window. Your time goes in how can I heat myself? How can I go somewhere? When you understand you can transmute with your energy, you can go anywhere, and through the interaction of the fields, you can create heat within you, then you understand. A lot of things goes. This is the beginning of the end of the governing. This is the end of in a way, man depending on the sources of this planet. It's detachment from them. And these systems, sooner or later, will come into the market. Keshe Foundation, knowledge seekers, those who understand the technology, will add to it, will come out with it. Then we see how life will change. In the next 10 years, once the new science gets hold, we will not recognize our lives, the lifestyle, the same as what the computer did with us, the same as what the mobile phone has done to us. Life without depending. Now with your mobiles, you don't need to be stuck to a wall and have to be there. You can do and talk anywhere you want to be. With computers, the intelligence, the amount of information we can gather at the fingerprint, it is different. With that fingerprint, we were used to write and scrub and do something. open book. Somebody, now you say what you want and it's there. He has brought new evolutions in man usage of his time and the knowledge and common intellect. What would be the next step? What's the next stage? And this is part of the work we do. This is a part of the work our work as a Keshe Foundation is. Would it become the time that you literally from point of inception, birth, to the point of death could be 50, 100, 200, 1,000 years online, you never eat food, you never get sick, you never feel cold. You don't need to work to guarantee your survival. You survive because you have learned how to tap into the energies of the universe. Then you understand life will change in a very, very drastic way in how we interact, how we see things, and how do we actually feed ourselves. What's the secret of feeding yourself with the plasma? Have you understood how you feed yourself in the matter state? Have you understood how what you eat as solid food becomes energy within you? Then have you managed to understand, you take this, whatever it is, an apple or grapes or whatever, you put it in the stomach, create a gas to absorb energies from the environment, and in the process of it, you release fields. Now, how can you create that seed of energy within you that you do not need to eat, that attracts the totality of 100% energy you need to keep your physical life going? The session of what we call November, at the end of November, with the light, is the beginning of this process for humanity. One of the most crucial points, this coming Friday, we have the session for what we call the process which we want to see how we can elevate, how we can mark the structure of the soul of the man in its dimension of physicality. And many of you are coming in to see, to be there. But what we call the November session, it'll be a massive, massive change for those knowledge seekers who have understood and are ready to start the change. If you understand how you can create field energy, maybe you do not see it on the level of your vision strength, but you create that. How you can use that, how you can understand that energy to create transmutation, to create field of energy that your body can absorb, that you do not kill, you do not need to go to the next step of destruction just to guarantee the physicality stays together. Now you understand, gradually, we are taking you as knowledge seekers to the next step. But you have to understand the processes you've been going through, it prepares the soul, it prepares the physicality for the next step. And we are reaching that point. Within the next 3 or 4 weeks, as we go step by step forward and we do other different developments, you should be able gradually to do what you see, a light within your hand. And how do you use this? This is that candle which you start a fire with. And if you don't know how to handle it, it dies up. And say, I don't know how to make fire. Because you have not learned how to start that candle, that first light. And as is magnetic gravitational field, that kindle of plasma will connect directly to every aspect. Then it comes how you emotionally move it, how you use your emotion to create a condition for its interaction, for its development, for its usage. It's like having a flint in your pocket. Whenever you need, you start a fire. And this is where the knowledge and the technology comes. This is where I told you in the past few weeks and months, the evolution in science is coming so rapid. It's coming in such a speed that so many of you will not even feel it when it hits you. So how do we create a transportation of the fields that allows us to create that Kindle? How do I use my emotion? Or how do I use my emotion for it not to go too far? I'm looking for energy at the level of the calcium because my body needs a calcium. I don't want to produce uranium by accident in my body. It's one of these, what we call gravitational fields. If the world of science, for example, could understand the existence, the dimension of the life of the man, and why, for example, we have calcium in every cell of the body of the man, then you understand how you can negotiate your ways. What is the purpose of the calcium? Why do we need a calcium in our body, in every cell? And what happens if we move this calcium? The only reason every cell or body of the man created, be it in bone marrow, be it in any part of the body of the man, has a calcium, is one reason. Don't forget, your body is in a plasma field. It's in a vacuum itself. It has structures. It has black holes. And the black hole of the body of the man, to hold everything else, is the bone structure. So when you have calcium in every cell, in connection to it, it keeps it together. It's a common denominator field force that in it keeps your muscle tissue near the bone, hold it. It holds your leg tissue together because then it's what they call muscles on the bone. And then in your blood, it keeps circulation, but it's there. It's a dynamic plasma of the calcium moving around. The only reason we have calcium in every cell of the body of the man is to keep our attachment to the bone structure. And it comes from the bone. And then, if you understand this process, it comes the next step. What happens if my leg gets amputated? Aha, I need that mysterious thing, calcium, that is always there. And then instead of growing one day, it goes in 1 hour. This is the development of the technologies which is coming forward. This is what you should not be worried. He'll become even that reptile will lose his tail. In 2 weeks' time, he'll have a full leg. In 2 minutes, you have your leg back. Now you understand the extent that this technology, the knowledge of the technology, will bring changes to man. When I go to another planet, the calcium is a vapor, doesn't even exist because the dimensions for a magnetic field doesn't exist. There's another denominator which can give me that. And then if you understand why you have calcium in your body, and then you understand why you have zinc, why you have iron, why do you have copper as the components of the physicality. Don't forget that calcium has a spectrum of the magnetic field dimensions. It dictates that field condition of the calcium, what strength field is absorbed near to it, and then it becomes a tissue cell of a heart, or it becomes tissue cell of a lung. And then you understand why our lungs has no muscles in it. Because the calcium has caged it, does not need no muscle for it. Your structure of your rib cage has dictated no muscle tissue. The structure of the brain of the man has dictated no muscle tissue in the brain. And when the calcium is in its form of itself, you have to attach other things to it, which we call muscle tissue. If you look the structure of the bone structure of the man, the structure of the marrow, which created within the structure of every single bone in the body of the man, dictates what structure of the muscle tissues and material you have. If you can control your spine, your vertebra, with the right calcium condition, you'll never get any of the diseases which we see. Then even cancer become impossibility. The world of science has not understood how calcium in the structure of every cell of the man and the bone structure are connected to each other. Because we never understood our body is built of gases. It evolves its field strength, its dimension. The field strength created in the rib cage, in the flat dimension, dictates the expansion of the calcium in the structure of the lung. When you get old, the rib cage bends in, you change the dimension of an interaction of the field of your lung. Then you open up the others to move, to create, and the lung tissues are created, and then you call it cancer in the lung. Isn't that the same what happens in the breast of the woman when she gets a tumor? Now we understand. If man understands the principle of creation in his own physical body, man will conquer the universe. This is what we have to understand. This is where, when we get involved in the process of what we call wellness, we do impossibilities. We can reach impossibilities. But you have to understand at this one time, our doctors have to understand this. Otherwise, it's another magic, it's another prescription, another tablet out of the box. To have this, got no tablets. You can have this vitamin, or you can have this antibiotic. Then man never gets sick. Then man understands by his own action, he can change the calcium combination energy and walk away from any diseases. The slight change in the atmosphere, in the dimension of magnetic fields of your kidney gives you kidney stone. But what is the stone? Whatever you made, what changed the gravitational field in the calcium that it led to this dimension? Today's teaching is to open your eyes in understanding and application of life, of man within himself and within his environment. And then in the future, those who understand will start making these machines. Mr. Keshe said, it's calcium. I have to do. And then I want to see how many of you are in back to maghreb business. Is out of fashion now making maghrebs. Now we have to find the calcium. Now we have to find this. This is why in the teaching of last week, I showed you the shape of the brain and how it affects how it's been changed to fit the inertia of this planet. Then you understand how now the physical structure of it sits there. Why the shape of the skull dictates the intelligence, dictates behavior, dictates the outcome of the future. Why For goodness sake, doctors never understood. We call them all sorts of diseases, and we have no solution for it. With paraplegics, with the children who are born deformed head in the birth tunnel where they were perfect inside. If our scientists understand how to manipulate the calcium structure within the deformed brain, the physicality of it, when it goes through the birth, and understand how body does it, then we don't have these handicapped children for a lifetime. The scientists solve the problem at the point of birth, create the fields that it creates the calcium in the right direction, in the right position, as it's the calcium of the child. They measure its magnetic field to understand its plasma structure and replicate it. Then we don't need these incubators to keep them. We keep them in plasma incubators, which the body is adjusted to perfect the child at birth. Then you understand, for man to be perfect, for man to be sick, understanding the plasma technology is impossibilities, then life is for eternal. I had the pleasure this weekend to be in a conference where the man literally sitting opposite to me, next to me at lunch, 2 seats away, another one is 122 years old. You look old, but as fit as me, half his age. Because in structure of the environment, in structure of the food we eat, they have managed without knowing to trigger this calcium, to trigger the position of it. When you look at people, tall people, short people, at old age, walking high, walking tall, walking broad shoulders, you hardly see them sick. Because they keep the posture, they keep the magnetic field flow as it was young. When you bend in, you change combination, and you bring yourself, feel the strength variation in the rib cage. Your ribs, when you're young, has a certain distance. That gravitational magnetic field allows you to absorb energy as you need for your soul and your physicality. As you bend in, these two ribs move 1 millimeter, 2 millimeter closer. Now game is changed. Feel the strength is changed. If our doctors or scientists understand the totality of the field interaction body of the man, goes back to what I told you, the guy who came to the Sensano and he was a guru, he was a prophet because 7 times 21 days he could feed himself without eating. Then he became magician and the guy bends and kisses his foot because he could do it, I couldn't do it. Now every one of us can do no food for millions of years. So the whole of the rest of humanity should bend their foot 1 million times. The guy hasn't eaten for 10 years. We don't eat for hundreds of years. Sorry, on planet Zeus and on the moon, we have no cattle market, we have no fish and chip shop, and we have no grass to eat. So, and the food has run out, you brought yourself in a backpack. Do we fight for the food? Somebody else has it, and what happened when his run out? Or we learn how by absorbing different fields, we change our posture, we change our energy absorption. We use the air as that food, as that package which absorbs the other 80% from the environment. You've got to remember, everything which is on this planet comes from the air of this planet. And if you can absorb the right breathing, the right energy from atmosphere, you can use it as that source in your body, which absorbs the other 80% from outside. You bring it in as a matter state, you convert it into the gas and brings its energy from the universe. That's the secret of life. This is how the future generations will come to understand how to live, how to expand, how to survive the span of the universe. You create the condition that the energy in that point is used the way every plasma within your body carries life. In a physical life, you connected to calcium for your physical structure. In your plasma life, you don't have such a thing. We have energy fields of the plasma of calcium somewhere in our brain of what I call plasma of our soul, partially in our plasma of our physicality. But if you go on the planet Zeus, calcium has no structure, so you'll be just a jelly on the floor. Or you can absorb, understand the process of the creation, and according to conversion through the emotion of the physicality, create the calcium of the place, time, and position to give yourself the physical structure to survive. But in that planet, there are no air, the oxygen combination, the nitrogen combination, which we use. So you change the dimension of the rib cage to absorb the energy from the environment of the place to feed the soul. And create an energy field to feed the soul of physicality, that in between them they create the energy of the physical life, that in interaction with the soul and the inertia of the time and place does not matter. There is no planet. It's just the open space of the universe, or in the depth of the oceans of the deepest ocean in the universe. You still can create life. Then you have no worries if you manifest in a stone or on the top of the mountain. In a place there is nothing but fields. Then I wonder how many of you will come back and says, how do I make magrams? Can I get 10% energy reduction? Where the whole energy of the universe, the process of working with the universe, creation of the cell structure of the universe, sits in the magrams. If you look, the curvature, the twist and the turns in every coil of the magraph, did you look at the magraphs, the coils of the brain we showed last week? It's just piled up on top of each other, different than ring. How do you play with it? Why would I do this, that happen? Because you only look at the physicality, look at the structure of the fields. To what extent we have to spoon feed you one by one, I think the generation would have been 1,000,000 years old. Or is it nice just to be spoon-fed and says, I haven't eaten yet? Give me more. This is what knowledge is. This is what it gives you everlasting life. This is a fountain of youth, the knowledge of the man about his own creation and the way the physical life works. Now you understand how much we still need to teach, how much we need to open your eyes in how you actually physically live and what is the cause of your life, what maintains life for you on this planet, and how you will change in another dimension. If I make a magnet of calcium and put next to all of you, you'll be jelly on the floor. Packs of energy just shivering like a river. Because we never understood the principle of the creation of physicality at this time and point. We see people from, we call them aliens, and they have a feature. Look at the feature. What do they have? What gives them, what material gives them the physical, vertical, whatever shape they have, and what is used as satellites? We call it muscles. We call it tissues. We call it cells of the muscles and tissues. Now you understand. Life is very simple. Because man has not understood, man is trapped by all the anxiety and all the pains of the physicality. So I wonder how many of you knowledge seekers, the speed you want to make magrams to get 10% reduction, Mr. Keshe doesn't know it doesn't work. I'm going to make the calcium condition system energies, and then you see what happens. Some of you doctors now jump, oh, we put calcium in our this and that, and it will not work that way. Be careful, you might give a cancer because you don't know how to handle it. The whole process, the whole understanding of is transmutation of the fields, is transportation of the fields in the energy levels of the plasma and nothing else. Does not matter where you are, where you exist in the universe. You want to live as a worm without the bone structure? Now you have to understand how to create a condition that gives you that energy, that physical energy of a bone structure, but in the strength of the fields, that you don't need the bone structure. How do you think the worm exists without any bone structure? How do some animals exist that have no bones in them? Because the gravitational magnetic field of a specific isotope of calcium on this planet has created that. Look at the oyster. Look at all the fish, which are soft with no bone structure, but they live inside the calcium. They have managed to create calcium outside their body to protect it inside. We haven't even managed to understand this simple physical principle. How these soft body tissues with no bone, they have skin as shells. How come some exist without? Now you understand the principle of creation on this planet. Because if you look at Mr. Cohen and you look at the calcium isotopes, you understand the secret of life on this planet. Mr. Cohen, which is the basic, the foundation of the amino acid, you have a carbon, 12. You have 14 the nitrogen, that's 28. Sorry, 26. Then you have the oxygen, and then you have the hydrogen. Then you have connection with the material which attaches itself to amino acid as iron. Then you have the amino acid or energy balance plasma of copper. Now, does it start adding up? Why the common denominator in the structure of the physicality, in the atmosphere of this planet is calcium? Even the worm has calcium on his skin. Now you understand how playing with the fields, not with the material, which gives you life, which creates sustainability anywhere in the universe. Now, the secret of creation is unraveled for you on this planet. And it took me half an hour, and all of you as knowledge seekers understand how you are created, why you have a bone, why you die, why you get diseases, and how you can change it. And when you go through transmutation, the first thing is, oh, what is the calcium here? Do I need to swim or do I need to walk? Emotion of me finds out in its field of strength what is going to be the seed of every cell. That black hole that absorbs everything and holds on to what it needs. That's all calcium is. It's a black hole of every cell in the body of the man. And because it's black hole, it has gravitational magnetic field, it interacts with its totality at field strength. It can be a cell in the middle of the stomach, can have a liver on one side of it, can have kidney on the other side of it, intestines are on the other side, your everything else around it. Because it dictates according to the inertia magnetic field of your vertebra what things allows it. Have you noticed how come we have one organ in the cage of the lung of the man, and with all these bones around it, and we have all these organs in where there is no magnetic field, and we call it the stomach, and it's just one piece going down straight with nothing attached to it. We call it vertebra. The combination, the interaction of the fields of the calcium within them replaces the rib cage. It creates that interaction between the balance fields of what we call the black hole to keep the structure. And then you see, if you follow that structure, the cow has the rib cage and the bones, different shape. The dog has the same, the cat has the same. And then you understand how every organ is in that part. RNA is not that easy to make. DNA is absolutely a hard part to play with. If I can change the energy fields of the plasma of the information of RNA, I can make in 1 second cat out of your dog tomorrow and a fish the day after. They call it what we call gene manipulation. Let me, when the man learns, understand RNA manipulation. It's much, much easier. It's much, much faster. And you don't need to have GMOs. Because then you play with other one. DMOs. Then you understand how we as humans still work on the matter state of it. We call it DNA. If man learns to play with the energy of the maggrav, you will all be creating RNA, and if you can sit on it, you can change it. I hope today you understood. I hope I open your eyes again to another dimension of life. In the future, if the knowledgeable scientists called doctors and scientists understand the teaching of today, the world of the medicine, the food of man will change forever. But as usual, it takes time. And then we come to understand how we can transmute, because we have to understand this to be able to go through transmutation. The fear of powering as an energy, creating the black holes of the creation at the point of the time and destination. And then be very different for man. Life will be totally different for any creatures who understand the knowledge of the creation of the Creator. I hope today's teaching brought you a new dimension to move away from matter state, to move away from your background, and understand the process of the creation of the fields and the use of the fields. Unfortunately, it's like giving birth to the child and breastfeeding it, and now you say you're grown up, you cannot be breastfed anymore. No more meme. And then what happened? The child cries. The detachment from something I suckled from day one is impossibility. Without it, I die. till he starts walking, and the first day, shall I go for it? No, I can do it myself. And then becomes a man. It matures in the ways of life of physicality. And now, for me, as I was explaining to the other knowledge seekers very recently, I have to get this creature of the man, the child of this planet, away from the breast of physicality for it to start walking and mature. And it's so attached to physicality. This is the impossibility of the world, of the creation, for people like me, how to get you from this suckling physicality. And look, there is more outside. And when we achieve this, man will start a new cycle of being part of a universal community as is itself a universe within itself. When I cannot take you off the suckling part has been my dilemma for the past years. Maybe the biggest mistake I made, I showed you the magraphs, because that created more dilemma, but in a way, in the long run, once you understand it, gives you a key to the universe. Thank you very much for today. And we go to our usual repetitive break, and we come back to see what we can enlighten each other with the knowledge of creation. Rick, if you can take us to the break.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you once again for another teaching here. This is the 509th Knowledge Seekers Workshop. We'll take a short break and be back soon.
The revolutionary new Flight Enhancement Spaceship unit is due to be launched in June 2022, and in the same year is expected to fly passengers into space, to the moon and beyond for a day or even several days at a time. There is no need for the Flight Enhancement Spaceship unit to carry food or medicine, as it is equipped with the latest space technology for transportation, transmutation and deep space operation. This extraordinary breakthrough technology ushers in a new era of travel without the need of fuel, food, or medicine, even during the longest excursions into deep space. Each spaceship unit has a 4-passenger capacity for long or short duration flights and has the capability to travel between cities on Earth in a matter of seconds to minutes, depending on the distance and speed. This ability to traverse massive distance in such incredibly short time is not just a breakthrough for human transport, it also completely revolutionizes the transportation of goods and cargo and will rapidly overcome the need for one of our most polluting practices, namely marine shipping, as it finally breaks us free not only from the combustion of heavy diesel, but from the combustion of any fuel for propulsion in the future. The Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a new paradigm in space travel, space medicine, and space technology. the new Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a plasma-space technology to prepare humanity for transportation and transmutation in deep space. Essential processes are embedded to prevent mutations and psychosomatic conditions during deep space travel. This new system is designed to support upper body conditions, especially of the lungs and intestines, and can be targeted specifically for each organ. When inside the Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the body experiences balance in totality, enabling it to correct and rebalance all the fields within itself. The new Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a dimension in health and transportation never seen before.
Okay, here we are back again at the 509th Knowledge Seekers Workshop. And because this is the second half, Mr. Keshe is willing to answer questions from our audience, and that could be from our live stream or YouTube chats, or from the chat here in the Zoom call, or live from our attendees in the Zoom. So the attendees you're welcome to put up your virtual hand, then we can allow you to open your microphone so you can ask your question. Mr. Keshe, are you ready to, oh, you have something to show here.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
This is, you'll see this on the Keshe Foundation, what do you call it, store. The ball you see in the front is a medallion or emblem, which has been made and promoted for the Keshe Foundation conference in London. And the hand is going back to what we call the November meeting of the knowledge seekers going through the process. And this, what we call like a medallion, made and should be available on the stores of the Keshe Foundation. And it is in a way representing both sides of the Keshe Foundation, plasma technology and energy after matter at the same time. It's a beautiful package, and this brings back a lot of realities, and it's done by our, the Keshe Foundation design IT team. And it brings a lot of understanding in the simplicity. This is made especially to celebrate the tailored ambassadorial meeting in London, and is actually remembering the event and collaboration of the Plasma and the Spaceship Institute, how we work only with plasma without the matter of state, what they call a state of matter. And regarding to the London conference, as we're getting closer, we have a lot of requests from a lot of people sending messages. And can you send the invitation to this? Can you send the invitation to that? Can we invite this? Keshe Foundation has decided, because we have so many of you, and at the same time with what we see in the present time in what's building up to become a horrendous situation in the Middle East, by simply the greed of the man and the rest of it, we responding back to your request, and in a way we will release 2 invitations within the next few hours on the Keshe Foundation website and on the what you call Keshe Foundation chat rooms, all the what we call connections of the Keshe Foundation with the public. You can pick up these, print them, put the name of the ambassador you will have in England, and if you're German, send it to what they call the German ambassador in London for the invitation. You can use the other card to send to the scientists, the people you want It's not an invitation, it's to inform that they can participate. At the end of each, presentation, you will see the link where they can go and register for the conference. The publicity for the conference started yesterday with one group of advertising group which we brought in, and the next group of advertising team will start from maybe Sunday. That is targeted for British public, British press, and more or less for the embassies in London. We have brought specialists in this job because London is targeted because of the number of scientists. Or you can invite your ministers, inform them to be for anything else. That for the 11th of November, we have everybody informed as you need, because we had people say, can I invite such and such and such? Now we're giving you the invitation. Send it to your professors, send it to your ministers in your countries, send it to your president, send it to whatever, whoever, doesn't matter which country you are, but send one copy to your ambassador in London. German ambassador, you have so many Germans. Each one, make one and send by email. If you're a German in London, make a hard copy and register, post it to the embassy. If you're a German, make a hard copy in a nice heavy paper, post it to your ambassador in London. Please attend this conference. And the more they get, the more it takes to take shape. We are trying to fix one of the venues now in a special place. It'll be amazing. And if we get a collaboration where I want it to be completely, we'll move the what we call the 1 week conference into this position. It has to be understood. We see today sitting here, as I spoke last week, the war in Middle East imminent. Americans and Illuminatis have decided we're going to rob the Iran central bank. Every effort is getting made to stop this. And the only thing is, I can say, those who play the game will pay the game. We will make sure if any excursion to damage Iran happens through our technology and our will, without damaging us all, we bring those nations to more primitive levels than when the man came out of the cave. I do not make a threat, but I deliver the technology that living in those countries will become as you lived in the Stone Age. Those who start the war will have to understand the time of war is over. Those who thought they're going to make profit, they find a very different profit. My advice goes to the American administration and their work, and the same with the Israelis. You play with man, we play with Creator. Heed from making such a move, because in a way it's the wrong move. The war which started by Hamas was paid by the Israelis to start the war by Hamas, to create the present condition. So all ends up with the same. And we handle the same through the knowledge, technology, and at the same time, knowing what is to come. London Conference will be the most positioned power to enforce peace. Just don't send the invitation to your ambassador. There is a list of embassies. We'll provide you with all the links. You can sit down and send to 10, 20, or 30 embassies once a day, once a week, till they understand the change. The conference is on the internet, is going to be held in one of the most prestigious places in London, and is where everything will take shape. Send to the members of Parliament of England, send it to the Prime Minister, send it to your Prime Minister, send it to your President, doesn't matter which country you are. They can ask through info@Keshe Foundation, this on the promotion line, for a link for the President. We establish the correctness of the link, because anyway, since I'm the President, we establish with the embassy that we being given such a link, is this correct? They confirm it, we open the channel. So when you ask your president, they want is the embassy has to confirm the link, the line. So don't waste your time calling I'm the president, because one telephone call, one communication with the embassy will clear the point for us. We push to promote this, what you call the conference, and the 2-day conference, and the week teaching. And I hope you will understand how to do it. Get in touch with head of your nuclears, get in touch with professors and university scientists, get in touch with your pressure groups of CO2, you get in touch with your, what I call scientists, your every department which this technology can touch, and ask them to go to it. Be present with it and understand it. You've been sending me so many, can I invite this and this? Now you cannot invite, but you can inform, because only ambassadors are invited. And they have to go through, fill in the form. We have brought in a special payment method for this session that is automatically created and is done. You can pay with credit card, you can pay with any shape or form, and it'll be done automatically. Please, once we post this message, this invitation, yes, you have seen it now in some publications worldwide, has already been released. As we see, it's been put on the screen. Send it to your ministers, send it to your priests, send it to the Vatican, send it to anyone you like, but keep the integrity of it. And do not just think somebody else is going to do it. Mine on top of theirs have more say. All the embassies, African embassies, just don't look, we don't have many Africans in the Keshe Foundation. You do the work to support them, to inform them that they are in the same position as we saw in the Rome conference, and we saw in what they call Belgium conference. We get a collection of people. But this time they go. We try to give everyone who comes to the conference something scientific that they can take with you. I come from Queen Mary College. I have invited the Chancellor, the President, the Prime Principal of the Queen Mary College personally. You come from the university, do the same. I work for BNFL. I invite the head of British nuclear fuel to attend, to understand the time of nuclear game is over. You go to university, tell them, I'm your student, this is what you like to join. You work for a ministry, inform your minister. You work for a corporation with production of gas or whatever, inform them, attend this conference. We're there to bring the change, and now is your part. As you can see, we told you we go international, and you can see Keshe Foundation promotion for the conference is on international press releases. The concentrated promotion for English, for England and worldwide will come through the channels of another promoting company in UK, which is expert in these jobs. I hope we can see the beginning and the start of a change. Are there any questions?
Okay, very exciting, Mr. Keshe. Could you tell us a little more about this medallion, this image that we see?
This is it's the shape of the plasma with the center and the plasma itself. It is a brainchild of one of the artists of the Keshe Foundation, who does a lot of work for us. And the one you were showing, the flying machine going out of the anchor, this is done by the same design. In the conference one, in the center, you have a SSI in gold in the center of it. You will see in the center of the, what do you call, where the light, you see there's a light, there is a logo of SSI as a Spaceship industry, where we only deal with plasma. All the invitation cards, all the stationery, everything follows the same, what do you call it, emblem. You can buy this medallion. Now you can buy the medallion. It's transparent, and it should be on the Keshe Foundation store somewhere. But it's got a hole in it, the medallion. You can hang it on your neck. You can hang it in the room. It's amazing what it is, and what it does is transparent, so it takes the color of the background.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't seen it in the store yet, so when we get a link, we'll post it for people.
Tomorrow, yeah. Any other question?
Well, yes, we have a few questions lined up here. And once again, I remind our attendees, you can raise your virtual hand so we can acknowledge you. Let's see here. Okay, we have some questions in the Q&A. First question from Claudia from the Brazilian community. Hi, Mr. Keshe. In this moment of change, where plasma technology will be shown to ambassadors and world leaders in a few days, what do you need from us, knowledge seekers? Thank you.
As I said, we, in the next few hours, maybe in the next 24 hours, will send the invitation to your ambassadors and information for you to inform the others and spread it as much as you can. Every day, we got about 2 weeks, 3 weeks to go, and we are there to respond to it. The point is that in the conference, as it will be shown, there are a lot of ambiguity, a lot of things which are sitting around the foundation work will be open. It is there for you to see, it's there for people to see, to feel. It's the energy field presentation, not matter state presentation. Our team will try to do their best to see if they can show other things, but you got to understand there is a lot more. There is a second conference, a third conference of this series, which will come in China, and we are working till this is done, completed, that we can move with the other one. We try to establish this, the beautiful island of Sanya in South China Sea, where getting visa, and this is not a problem. You can travel. Coming to Beijing, you have to go to the embassy and all sorts. Sanya is a specific case that most of the Europeans, most of the nationals can just come in for 30 days and be a conference there. This is part of it getting done, and the conference, Insomnia has become one of the conference centers of the East Asia, and most of the big corporations run their, what they call, conferences there now. It's a dream, what I call holiday hotel chains, things you've never seen in the West. And you cannot imagine China has such a thing. I lived in Thailand in these hotels for, in what do you call it, Bilas for some time. Those of you knowledge, the kids who came to see us in China, we spent most of the time in Sanya. And it's a beautiful island. It's the largest, one of the largest islands, and we'll see if we can get that to be done. Beijing will have a lot of problems in getting people visas, invitations, and the rest, where Sanya has a different territorial principles given to it by the, what you call, the Chinese government, and allows people much easier to enter. And creates a lot of less problems for us than in Beijing, but it's a different world of what you call existence. They have built 7, 8-star hotels, I call it, things you have never seen in the West. You cannot imagine such a thing is possible. It's a beautiful island, and a chain of hotels built next to each other, about 100 of them. Each one, what I call mouth opening, and their beauty and their structure. But we'll see. We announce it after this conference and what we negotiate with the Chinese. Any other question?
Okay, another question from Hong Yue. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Good day for you. I would like to ask, we human beings have the creator side, but why do we become so insatiable and falling into vicious competition? Why don't we want to cooperate with each other, make progress together in beauty and beauty together?
I wonder if it's Chinese.
It seems like it by the name, yes. Hong Yu.
This is the way of Taoism and Buddhism thinking, Confucianism, to share, to be balanced. And this is the way in the West is unthinkable. But in the East, it gradually dawns on you, it rubs on you, and you see there is a lot of it in the way of living for them. And what I call the greed of the man has brought this. It's not that there is no greed, but in combination of Taoism, Confucianism, and Buddhism, the Chinese, most of them or some of them, have come to that balance. They find peace. Even every day they battle with a life of physicality. They have that essence of what do you call peacefulness. I had the pleasure of being with some of the Chinese, what I call men of power in the past few days, and it's amazing how humble they are in the position they are. And the only thing they talk is the balance, creating peace, creating environment that is peaceful for a lot of others. I was talking to one of our knowledge seekers this morning, and I said to him, that's the way you think, Chinese. It's not the way we think in the West. Everything has a value, it has to be there. Where Chinese do everything for the nation. You work and you build the society, and we don't have that in the West. It's not a nationalism, it's a nationalism. It's a very big difference. The society counts more to be than me or be, even though they're very hardworking, very selfish-centered, whatever. But general structure is that way. And I always say, you say to a Chinese, hello, never answers, very seldom, if you have people you know, answer you with ni hao. They answer you, have you eaten? The first worry, if you have enough in your stomach, if you're safe, if you're not hungry. In English, we say, hello, sis, how are you? In China, when you say somebody hello, the answer usually is, have you eaten? Are you hungry? So they're looking after for somebody not to be in that state of need that you're equal to, because I've eaten, I'm happy, you'll be the same, then we can talk equal. So this is one thing we have to learn and walk away from all that physicality. And it'll come on its own as we progress in that way. And then these questions will not exist. Any other question?
From Claudia from the Brazilian community. Hi, Mr. Keshe. You said in an old teaching that we never control our sacrosanct emotion, and we only control the fields that I give and take, and that the consequences of it. Could you please explain more about that?
Always goes back to the ethos of Mitra. And if we learn that one, that's sacrosanct, thou shalt not steal. Do good. First of all, think good, talk good, and do good. And that brings on itself a lot of peace. Then you don't need to think to do something else, then you have to correct it, and it takes a lot of energy. And in time, man will learn this. Because when you do that, you're connected to the line of the Creator. That's all it is. Because that's his attributes. That's the way he is. If you notice how we think, how we say, we take this one to go back to the cave time. Because it means they have to learn. They have not learned. Start again. Learn the principle of being connected. And then maybe in time to come, you will learn, you will mature. It's a line of connection, it's the way through common denominator. Your root goes back to the essence of the creation, which is the Creator. We are all connected, as I said in the teaching of the past, all connected through one common denominator. Every created thing in the universe to the Creator is that if you find a path and feel the strength of it to take you to that path, it can be one instance you are part of it, become part of it. Any other question?
Okay. From Cristiano, a question from Alexandra, again from the Brazilian community. In the 507th Knowledge Seekers Workshop, you taught that the cosmic rays we receive at the back of the head are different from those we receive at the front, and that when our energy is too much in the back of the head, we can't get the soul to expand forward. So questions, there's two questions. Are the cosmic rays we receive in the front and back of the head different because of the interaction of the fields and needs of those specific areas? And second question, in what situations do our energies go to the back of the head, not allowing our soul to expand forward? How can we change this situation?
Can you repeat that, please?
The whole thing or just the questions?
The questions.
Okay, the first question is, are the cosmic rays we receive in the front and back of the head different because of the interaction of the fields and needs of those specific areas?
Not necessarily. It's, as I showed you in the magnet, every, what you call, field strength has its own line of connection. And every magnet has all the connections needed for every piece to come in touch with. You buy a magnet, which you use material in the North Pole, and you bring an ion from the South Pole, another magnet from material from South Pole, they still interact. The magnets. Have you ever bought the magnets from two different shops years apart and then say, oh, I'm not touching this one, I don't like this, this is Chinese or this is African or whatever, my magnet is different? No, they still interact. And the beauty of it is this. So when you look at the brain of the man, it's the same. Each field has a position, field, the strength, and the position in the brain of the man to interact with. It doesn't matter if it goes from your back or the front.
Okay, back to the second question. In which situations do our energies go to the back of the head, not allowing our soul to expand forward? And how can we change this situation?
In the November session, I think it's 24th, 27th of November, you will feel this and you'll learn a lot. We know how to play with this, we know how to enhance it, and we know how to bring it into a show. And those of you who attended last two sessions, we tested it and you confirmed it in the, what you call, testimonials you sent us to confirm we are correct, everything is correct. And this is the way it will be and the way it's set up to. And you learn how to do it, how to direct energies. But those of you who attend the end of November, you will learn the same process. And in the next future few months, we'll bring you those directly into transmutation. That the process of transmutation will start and becomes a common knowledge. But it's like going through step by step, step by step, step by step. I put on the screen, somebody asked, can we see this? This is just the final product. Is in this plastic coverage. In the shop, you will see it. In the center is the SSI logo. It's a medallion which is transparent. It's beautiful. And those of you ask, can we see it in material? This is one of the pictures I have from the production. So, but go to the Keshe Foundation store, is there for promotion at the conferences. Any other question?
Okay, we can move to, we have a hand up, but before that, I'd like to move to a question that came in from, I think, the emails I got through Keshe Foundation. From, let me see, James, who asks, Mr. Keshe talks about absorbing plasma energy to nourish the soul of the man and the soul of physicality, rather than killing organisms for nourishment. I am willing and ready to understand how to do this for myself. How can I achieve this? Let me know what I can do for you. Thank you. James.
You can't do that for me, you can do it for yourself, but you have to understand field transfer. You have to feel the field transfer. And part of the November and the following works is that way. if you look at the what I call the picture which was put up a few minutes ago, even for the what they call the light, as you see that on the screen. For 1 second, when you look at this picture, imagine what happens if that bright center is your soul. If that bright center is the soul of creator. And then you understand the next step. You understand how you can help yourself and how you can connect to every plasma in the universe. The way your soul is that black hole and is connected because of its operation to every single magnetic field in the universe. Any other question?
We have a hand up here with Mehran. Mehran, would you like to go ahead, please?
Yes, thank you, Rick. Hello, good day, Mr. Keshe. Thank you very much for teaching patiently, step by step, to help all humanity equally. So the question is, how could we realize and notice the difference between emotion of the soul of physicality and emotion of soul of the man? So maybe we can then manage it to the way it's desirable and correct.
You know, we should know by now, especially at our age, at our time, the difference between the emotion of the soul and emotion of physicality. Emotion of physicality, what I call, is hunger. Emotion of physicality is a need to satisfy a physical condition. Emotion of the soul is virtue. It's a feeling, has no tangibility, and has no dimension of physicality. And by time, we become an expert in it because we know the difference. I explain this in a very, what do you call, a pure way, in a very straightforward way. Loving to love, the true love comes from the soul. Making love, desire to, comes from the emotion of physicality. And is both using the same word, but two dimensions of the life of the man. And this is for man confusing, very confusing. Unconditional love and knowing what it means comes from the soul. And it could be directed to the same object, same person, same thing. You love a woman, you just look at her, it just satisfies every emotion, everything which brings a turmoil to you in your life. And what do? You say thank for just loving. When you get to the point when you loving someone, is when you mature to the level of the soul of the man. When you love someone, is in a way loving, but loving in the dimension of physicality as you are. When you fall in love with the love, this is when you mature, you understand, you deal with the dimension of the soul. And this is very, very, very tricky point for people to do. We fall in love with our children and we enjoy their existence. We love to love them. And it's the essence of the creation. It is how we have been, how we become, and how we feel the emotion of the soul. And you can live a lifetime, don't feel it, and it can happen to you the first time. It's like when you look at your child, you love it, but if you get to the point of loving the way you love your child, that comes from essence of the soul. When you tell your partner, I love you, and then when you're on your own, it's not missing. It's the emotion of loving, the way you love your partner. That emotion is from the soul. Loving comes from the physicality, is emotion, a feeling of the life, soul of physicality. And some of us live a lifetime, never experience it. Some of us has the pleasure to feel it the first time in our lives. So could be with our dog, with our cat, with our brother, sister, mother, whatever. And if you reach that point with your partner, it's one of the most beautiful ways to ever live. Because they didn't say it touches my soul. Because you love in a dimension of physicality someone, but when you loving them, then you're aware of another dimension. Any other question?
I had another question, if you don't mind. I remember when we say the more we give, the more we receive, and then there was a schema that you had these circles in the inside. It's the most gravitational, and then as it goes, opens up, it becomes gravitational with our emotions, the planets, things like that. Could you, with a schema, share with us how the more we give, the more we take, because it's not easy for some people to grasp it.
Always said it's like a cup. The more you take out of it, the more you can put in it. The fresher water you can get in it. And it's understanding in the dimension of the fields and emotion. It has two ways of characteristics when you live or talk about things like this. And one is that your emotion, when you give, is like opening fields wider because you it's not with you anymore. And in opening that, the space gap between the separation of one to the other becomes to fill in, so you receive more of. I explained this years ago. It needs a skill to do it and to show it. And with the present, what do you call it, Zoom facilities, is not that easy to do. Let's see. Let's see if
Thank you very
this
much.
tool of what we call Zoom allows us to do this.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. It's just turning onto the page. If you take a plasma in the what I call I would like it the other way. Oh, brilliant eraser. Oh, cancel. How do we rub it off with this? Nope. I cannot find how to rub things off this new system. There we are, it's here. Okay, now if you look at a magnetic field that they go out. If I have another field going from here, we'll go here. This gap builds up, open and open. So the more you give, if you look at it that way, the bigger this gap comes to receive, if you understand it. This is allows more to arrive. Because these two lines of emotion have their own gravitational magnetic field, and they create at lower strength further separation. And this is the best way I can explain to you. The more you give, the bigger this gap becomes, so the more you receive. And this is the structure of the whole understanding.
Beautiful.
So it's then you, in a way, because it changes the whole structure will change. And as it comes, it condenses. And somewhere in here, it turns back to its, what I call, origin, or again, what we call giving. Because at this point, now it's arrived, it returns. So now you have more to give. So as you take more, you give more. And this is the essence of the creation. That's why we see, we understand the operation of the soul. And if you look at it, it started with the creator, and as it goes further, you get more galaxies and more by the interaction of the fields. So you create more fields to be absorbed.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much. Any other question?
Yes, we have another hand up here with Gatwa. Go
Would
ahead,
you like
Gatwa.
to screen, please? I close the whiteboard.
I don't have a question. I don't know how come you call on me. If I had my hand up, it was not intended. But hello, Mr. Keshe and everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gatwa. Any other question?
Okay, thank you. In the Q&A from Onder, good morning, Mr. Keshe. Can you please explain why the dialect changes and not the language when we talk about foreign language syndrome? Thank you so much.
Can you repeat that?
Can you please explain why the dialect changes and not the language when we talk about foreign language syndrome? I'm not clear on that, other than maybe it's when people are able to suddenly learn a foreign language, perhaps.
It's like I tell that to my children quite a lot, even at the ages they are. They speak English, but they've been taught to speak Farsi. Well, when they speak Farsi, we have a certain accent or voice or whatever you call it, combination, that it sounds like the way the Armenians speak. And most of the Iranian children, Farsi is a second language they speak. They have this, what we call the Armenian accent, because Armenians speak another language, but they learn Farsi to be as they've been given a home in Iran, even centuries later. When an Armenian speaks in Farsi, we know it's the other Armenians. Even they've been there for centuries. Because at home, they use Armenian. Is the way our voice psychologically or pattern-wise, is the way the twist of the tongue, they call it, goes in each language. Some languages we speak with the voice of the throat. Some we speak more with the tongue. It's very, if you lived in England, you can tell somebody who's actually not English, trying to speak English, very what I call posh English, and English which is naturally English and they speak the way they do. It's the way they pronounce the TH. Is not a natural way. When you learn it from childhood, it's part of your process of learning. It comes naturally. But those who learn English and then they want to speak a perfect English, you always hear that. Because they want to fit in, as I know everything, I understand, but it's not there. The dialect is not there. The language is there, but it's the way the tongue has twisted or turned or structured through the memory of the brain to use certain muscles and certain part of the voice box for certain things. And speaking a new language, a dialect, and a dialect that just brings that more. This is why when you go to a country like in some part of Austria where we live, you don't hear, and you move under 100 kilometers, the accent, the voice is different. It's like in China, if you go from one part to another, you can't even understand what they're talking about. They're talking Chinese, but this dialect, the way they eat the food or whatever has changed, the twist now, what they use that somebody else doesn't understand it. We do this. It's to do with the structure, physical voice and voice box and the muscle tissues of the tongue, of the mouth, and partially the emotion, how we attach to the emotion of the word and the language. Any other?
Peng Peter in the YouTube, will transmutation processes be demonstrated at some of the future conferences? Even a mere thought of this working will shock the scientific community, let alone demonstrating it.
We were planning to do it. We think we are ready to do it, but with all the problems in the background with the Keshe Foundation, what's happening and the pressures we had is pushed backwards. The systems are set up to do it. We have built the systems for it. We were hoping to be able to even demonstrate it in London. But Keshe Foundation's got so much things going around with it, and that is building up and building up. It's not internal, it's the things put on us external. But the technology is there. We have built systems to do this. You saw a unit in UNO Center. That system now is getting built, completed to do this job. And we've done more than this, where the people and the places which matters, we have shown much bigger processes, much bigger that they can bring. They still don't. We went through a process past 2 or 3 months, as I said in one of the talks, if you listen. Up to now, we were on our own. We did what we like. Now, in collaboration with governments, everything has to be done to be shown that it's there, that we can go to the next step. When we talk about coming to an agreement with certain governments, doing certain things, because knowledge seekers have literally shown how it works, what it is, the way it is, how it should be done. And repeat it, and they don't believe it, but it's there, so we have to accept it. And the worse it gets, the higher we go, the worse it gets, till we hit the ceiling. And even the scientists see it, understand it. They still have a problem because they read something else to accept as something else. They can't accept this. I said to one of our team very recently, it's very much like you understand this if you're come from the Islamic background, because I know people who've been through this and still know the emotion of it, is you have a mother, you love your dad, and then that comes with a second wife and it says, this is your mother too. It doesn't fit. Cannot be, because I call mother, cannot be. Or when we see this, now I divorced your mom, this is your new mother, you have to accept this. It's not there, we can't accept it. There's nothing because I accepted something else. It's the love affair I had with my mom, the emotion I have, this cannot fit. This is the same with the scientists, this is the same with people. Notion of I accepted something and it's correct because I love it and I understand it, is half of our battle with the Chinese academicians, more or less. And in changing direction and doing a lot of things, the world of academician still pushes something till things will start moving, and then they see things and say, okay, so it's a new technology. But the problem is now we have no academician to confirm it. And this is the problem. We show things even to the top scientists, because they what I call the new mistress of that is not acceptable. The new technology in the world of science is not because I'm the top. So we need somebody else. Now they're trying to create an academician in plasma technology. They're asking us, have you got the standards? I said, you haven't even accepted the knowledge. How do you want us to make a standard for it? And so we have to accept. We are going into that state of, you're just between we've been in the womb of the mother, we live with it, we know it. Coming out now, the people are saying, oh, what animal has come out now? Can we accept it? Is it a human? And we are not looking for that kind of group, because especially now, with the way we are structuring it, the way you will see in the coming weeks and months, we will show, as we've done. Now we become independent. It's not showing now. It's just we are moving into the position of making it to be. We pass that point of belief, and now even sometimes they ask, "This is still in progress." I said, "Yes, this is in progressive development for you, your grandchild of your grandchild, and wherever. This technology never ends. It's the knowledge of creator." For us in China, the point of seeing it, to believe it is gone. Is now we've seen it, we believe it. How can we use it to our benefit? We are in that stage with Chinese. The seeing and believing is gone. Is buried. It's not questionable. But sometimes it still pops out. But now we don't have experts. Now our job as Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers is to create experts for Chinese who understand our technology, that they become experts to vote on or decide on what we taught them. And this is another game for the knowledge seekers. But overall, we passed that believing point, especially in China. And now we are heading very fast towards the implication application. Then we have put a time frame of 2 to 3 years, and you will see it. And different knowledge seekers change the name to be, but now we are bringing it. You will see this believing, seeing to believing to see, whatever is eroded from the layer of the Chinese structure of the world. Now is, how can you implement? Tell us how much it costs to do this, how many people with it. So now we become estimators of our own technology, to train for the Chinese to become academicians to judge our own technology, we have told them. But it's part of the progress. We are now in the process of creating future Keshe Foundation plasma academicians for this nation. Because it's past believing to see, now it's implication. We are in a phase of, and then you will see it. You will see it, and then the West will say, how did this happen? Nothing, your ignorance brought it to you. We are not in the game of proving anymore. Now we're in a phase of implication and application and delivery in China. And this will happen, takes us another year to set up the research centers, to set up the factories, to start the productions, and next. And then you have to understand, as we deal with the national government, now the government has accepted such a thing is there, they have to allocate finances for it. And this we pass to a certain extent. So Now it's not believing it, it's just, okay, let's do those basic things which can change for the nation, basic things can bring security, basic things we accept. Now we are in that phase. The point of seeing to believing to be shown on CNN is finished, is over for us. Now we have reached implication, application and production. And training mass number of scientists is our next step of work, that they can work with us to understand the technology. And in seeing, understanding technology, we start the delivery of the technology in different ways. So seeing and believing is for you Westerners. In China, we have moved, seen, believed, shown. Now we're going to be moved into the phase of implication. How we can be implemented, where it can be implemented, system for this, as I said to our Chinese partners, instead of us coming to show you what this technology can do, you bring us your problem, you bring us what you're looking for, and we see how we fit the technology, because now it solves your problem, you believe it because your problem is solved. And now we reach that point. And we are in past CNN to be seen, and somebody to show in the news. We have shown enough to the leadership of this country that this is now we're in a phase of setting up how much it costs the factory to be set up, how many people we need. We estimate something like 40 to 100 million people will be involved in this industry in the next 3 to 5 years. Because once it goes, it moves and it goes on. And seeing to believing, and when it can be demonstrated, we still do that in the West and say, oh, we done our work. Now, Keshe Foundation in China is implication. We are in delivering technology to touch the national policy. Any other question?
Okay, we have a couple of planetary questions, you could say. First one came from Giovanni through the email. Hello, I would like to know if there's any technology that you have to protect in case of changing of the polarity of the Earth's poles.
Just 1 second, please. Repeat again, please.
Okay, we have a question from Giovanni who says, hello, I would like to know if there's any technology that you have to protect in case of the changing of the polarity of the poles of the Earth.
Are you there?
Yes, did you hear? No. Can you hear me?
Yes, I heard. I said, did you hear?
No.
Okay, I didn't say anything. That's what happened when the polarity changed.
Okay. That would be the answer, perhaps.
Did something happen to you?
Let me tell you something very straightforward. The polarity of the Earth has changed many times in the life of this planet. And if you consider yourself to be a good man, a handsome man, and a good creature, so the polarity has created such a perfection, you shouldn't be worried what happens when it changes. Polarity on this planet.
Sorry, go ahead. I was going to say it happens to the sun every 11 years. It changes poles. Yeah.
Every 11.5 years changes poles, and we change poles because of it. You know that. So every 23 years, sun goes back to its pole position, moving twice. And then with it, the Earth changes, and then with it, our plasma changes with it. So we are used to long distance changes of polarity, and a close changes will not make any difference.
Okay, and another space or planetary question from Jay in the live stream. He wants me to ask Mr. Keshe if Elon Musk's SpaceX rockets are burning holes in our ozone or not. And he mentions that Keshe said it's time to stop the burning. So why are space rockets still like giant fireworks?
Because we haven't accepted the new technology, that's all. Because we went the way the caveman went up to now. Now we go the way the gods gone. We saw the fire, we made the fire, now we managed to find different things to burn it. We haven't changed from the caveman time, not a bit. We just made a more glorious containers for it. And with the new technology, in a way, understanding the technology of the creation, we don't need that. But don't forget, these people with their, what I call, frontier research development are partially the reasons we are here. Because you can understand it. Other people have done things. Now because of that, you can understand the difference. So science is something which is built on top of each other and next to each other and top and bottom of each other, but collectively over hundreds and thousands of years, what we developed is a cornerstone of when I speak to you about gravity, you can understand. Because if that apple wouldn't have fallen on the head of the guy sleeping in the wrong place, being a lazy man, none of us maybe would have never had this problem with gravity, understanding what it is. And then I couldn't prove the correctness of the black hole theory. So our science is built on the back of the others, and let them make a few more holes. We have a lot of process to patch it up, called the knowledge of man.
So all of our science is based on somebody who got mad at an apple that won't come up under the tree.
Yeah, and the guy who jumped out of, he went to have a bath and he jumped out of the bath and nakedly discovered it.
And then the religions
went in the bath.
The religions are based on a guy under the tree too, and apples. So must be a connection there, I'm sure. Speaking of secret societies, Mike. Sorry, go ahead.
I think that was the problem was what under the apple tree, and no one was watching it. When Newton got hit directly on the head, there was nobody else to watch him. You didn't get it, did you? No. You're talking about the apple and Adam and yeah. Who was on the tree? Or Eve, who picked up the apple. Yeah.
Okay.
Next.
Mike has a question on secret societies, and what is your opinion on these secret societies trying to subvert national sovereignty for a one world government under global worship of the entity they worship and offer sacrifices to? Humans did this in the past all over the planet in past global civilizations, and the humans were wiped out for this.
I have nothing to say.
Okay. And let's
Global,
go.
we have been told that the Keshe Foundation is a globalist, one of our very good knowledge seekers. And she opposes any globalist. And I said, I'm a globalist because I want one globe, I want one race that everybody is comfortable with. And depends what you're there. You bring knowledge, you don't need to sacrifice. But that the rest is for what they get from what they get. And what they try to do. And how much difference we put between them. This is the most beautiful part. What difference we can put them and their behavior and their approach. Any other question?
I think we only have one last question here that I can see, which is Doug asks, what price is the medallion?
I don't know. It hasn't been decided, I think.
So that'll probably be put in the store in the next day or two. Is that the idea? People are wondering when it will show up in the KF store.
They should be there tonight or tomorrow, I think. And the same with the links with everything else. It's I don't know what the value has been put on it.
Okay.
I just showed you what I received on the screen, and it'll be done very soon.
Okay, we have a couple of hands that have popped up here. If you can handle a couple of more questions, or would you like to end for today?
Whose hands is it? How?
We have Carl and John Wells.
Yep, let's answer this and then we'll come to an end in 3 hours.
Okay, Carl, if you'd like to go first.
Hello, Mr. Keshe. Carl from Melbourne, Australia. And a few weeks ago, you talked about slowness and the slowness of breath. And it reminded me of when we drove over to Western Australia and we saw the Pacific Ocean for the first time. And you could see these waves on the ocean, kilometers long, just calming in. And not long before that, it had been talked about that NASA had these 7-kilometer mirrors, 2 arms that were 7 kilometers long that were picking up the magnetic gravitational waves coming to the Earth. And I feel like we need to just get a bit of reiteration on that slowness and how we connect in with these waves that come to us. And when I saw the nano-coding scans that had 30,000 layers to it, I always sort of described it as enabling us a different depth of connection by having those layers in the nano-coding to connect with these very subtle waves that come to the Earth. So I just wonder if, you can build on that for us and just help us understand that.
What do you want me to build on in a way?
Well, you were talking about breathing, slowing down, connecting with the soul. Life is very fast and we're always told that things have to be faster and, computing technology speeding up. But this is the antithesis of that, is really slowing down and connecting in with this natural wavelength that comes to the Earth, that comes from the core of the Earth. And I just wondered whether there was any other metaphor you could use to help us understand that, and whether I was actually interpreting what you were saying correctly.
It's very much, if you've been a father or a mother, and you carry your child in your arm to go to sleep, the eyes are open, and they usually at that age, they cuddle a teddy bear or something because they feel secure with it, they feel happy with it. And then you watch them, they close their eyes, and they go from the dimension of physicality into the dimension of the soul. If you hold them long enough, the breathing changes. The rhythm of the breathing changes. The speed of the breathing changes. And just before you feel the speed of breathing changes, you try to kiss your child. You see, they give you that smile. And it's the same body. You wait. Even though they change, you know they're going to sleep. If you wait another few minutes, and then you kiss the child again, you want to put her to bed, or then you see no reaction. But then you see, watch enough, sometimes there's a smile. There is another dimension comes up. And I watched my children going through this many times. And I always say, this is where the physicality is handed over to the soul. Then we understand it's us who creates that separation. What about if the child in awakeness breathed this way? To the same rhythm. Would he or she go through that transition? How come a kiss and a smile back, and then a few seconds later a kiss and there is no emotion? But it's the same body. But in that point of transition, you hear the change in the speed of breathing, the depth of breathing. And then you see how much energy is less needed from this dimension of physicality that the soul can take up. And you see that the smile, which shows the dreamland, the direction of the soul has started. So it's not a wave, it's us allowing us to be connected. It's just like moving in a room, nothing there, and you turn on the television. You bring a different dimension. You are watching the same television, nothing on it. Now you switch it on, it's a football game, and you get all excited. Nothing has changed. It's just you, the same screen, but different information and dimension. You're connected to a bigger world. So it's us who has created, could be 7 centimeter, could be 7 millimeter, or 7,000 kilometer. We create that wave for ourselves, and how we change it and how we can change from inside to outside. This is why I always said, what do children, babies talk to each other? Even they're a few days old, they know who's higher, who's up higher rank, who's there, who's the bossy one, and the rest of it. I watched over years a lot by literally adoring my children and holding them and watching their emotion, where there's a lot of crying, anger, not wanting to go to sleep. And then when the breathing changes, the whole changes, become the most beautiful creatures in the world you can ever hold in your hand. Serene, calm, and a smile, and then the kicks comes when the neural system settles, and then you see them. It's a different dimension. And where do they go? And they only know your face and mom's face and the environment you're in. Which universe do they go to? And that's the same as us. And we can control that. We don't need to go to sleep anymore. We don't. Let it call it daydream, but I call it connection with us. So how do you want to create it? It's your perception of what do you call one understanding of one expectation and where you want. Any other question?
I just had one follow-up, and you were talking about sleeping there, and I suffer from insomnia, and I just wondered if there was any particular exercise where we could connect in with the soul, or how do we settle ourselves to go back to sleep, particularly when we wake up hot in the middle of the night?
I found the way I do it, and it works. For years, for decades, I used to travel around the world quite often, so I slept a lot of nights alone in hotel rooms and all sorts of noise and everything. I used to put the television on, and I used to sleep like a rock. There was no television, I wake up 10 times. And now this is very easy. I've got a thing called Keshe Foundation on the what do you call it, live stream or YouTube.
Nothing cosmic, just the TV.
Yeah, I just put that on, and the guy talks, and I go to sleep, and there's no insomnia. So I keep the brain busy in a background noise, and the physicality goes. Try it; it might work. Find
my
white back.
My ex was like that, and she would fall asleep to the TV. If I turned the TV off, it would wake her up.
I've been there.
So it's true. It has a lulling effect.
No, it depends what we call a white noise matches your what we call a sleep strength of fields. You put children near the washing machine and turn it on. They sleep like a baby. You switch it off, they wake up. Does the noise of the washing machine is the same noise as the womb of the mother? Matches. This is we have to find strength. Insomnia has a solution. Is partially physically, because we can't breathe, we snore, the tongue goes to the back, and then you wake up. I call it fear of death. Then being afraid to sleep that the same happened, it creates that condition, but not all the time. A lot of people with insomnia is subconscious awareness of find a position you sleep and what position you wake up, and then you can't go back to sleep, and then you find out 2 or 3 factors insomnia. One is, first of all, happens in the old age usually, or happens at a very young age because you're too active, there's not enough time in the world. It happens in the older age because we have 2 cycles, or roughly assume we have 2 cycles of sleep. The first cycle we sleep because physically whatever we use repairs or energies for everything else used. And then when we change to the next cycle, all the repairs are done, all the energy used, so there is nothing, so you have to wake up. This is the reason we wake up, because all the repairs are done. The left does the right does the left side of the body, the left side of the brain does the right side of the body. And so in reducing the cycle of switch between the brain and the lung, we call it insomnia. So one of the best ways for people with insomnia is make it work. Do some physical action, physical things that there's more energy needed than 4 hours of repair. And then you go into 6, 8 hours and 10 hours. Don't go and kill yourself doing exercises, but find a process to bring the physical side of the repair or energy to extend the sleeping time. Or a lot of people in the old age have this insomnia because when you sleep, the tongue falls in the back of the throat. It's just like a fear of dying, suffocation. You wake up, subconsciously happens a few times during the night. Then the fear of not going to sleep, you might die, keeps you awake and become insomnia. You have to find out which one fits you, and then accordingly change the position that you don't want to sleep. You cannot go into that way of sleeping, or find a white noise, or you find out if it's every day, it means at that age you're not physically enough active. And one cycle repairs both sides, because when the repair is done, brain switches. Every hour, even you breathe through your nose and your lung, one nose is used, one lung is used. And in 1 hour, they switch back. And if you haven't used enough energy, that in 2 cycles completed. And this is how our body is made. If you understand the reason of insomnia, you shouldn't. Is it the fear of death because of your, what do you call it, the tongue falling in the back of the throat, or the extension of the roof of the mouth, which is part of the snoring, and all this other? Find out what it is and try to remedy it. Or is the fear of loneliness, fear of being with someone, you put the white noise in the background? Usually is solvable, but you have to find out. And because you see a lot of people who are in active life hits this barrier in older age. Try to stand upright. A lot of us create this insomnia and the things for ourselves, because as the older we get, we just bend in. Try, you're aware, stand upright. At my age, I tried not to, the minute I found out, I realized tiredness or exhaustion or whatever brings you to bend, I stand up. If you walk with me, I tend most of the time to stand very upright, because it allows the right combination of energies to be used. And insomnia, and in some cases, lack of sleep leads to a lot of other problems because of it. Heart disease, emotional problems, because you don't get enough rest. So putting a lot of weight on, because when you sleep, the body uses energy. When you're awake, you create that little candle in your body, swallowing the energy, you breathe different things. And so the more you're sleeping, extend to such an hours, keeps you very slim, because the body is not taking energy, but holding the machine going. It's like being at a traffic light or in a traffic jam, the engine runs, you use the fuel, but you're going nowhere.
Good one. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, one last question from John Wells. Go ahead, John.
Good day. Yes, good day, Mr. Keshe. This is
John.
the old man from Argentina.
Yes, the man of Argentina.
This must be synchronicity. I was going to comment that several knowledge seekers have realized that if we're in a tranquil mode, we must be breathing just about less than 2% of what we normally breathe. And many a time we maybe get alarmed because we're not breathing. But the energy is there, so why bother? We don't have to get alarmed because of this, I imagine so. And,
yeah, but it's a frustration. Awake, everybody's asleep and you're awake. Decrease our frustration is most of the problem.
Yeah, well, why frustrate because of this? But as you said,
you know, the human race, if we have nothing to do, we go and find a pot, we break the pot, and then start sorrowing, why did I break the pot? What happened? Why did the pot break? We find a way to use it to keep our mind busy.
Yes, and also the sleeping, the way to sleep. I've been sleeping for the last, what, at least 40 years with television on to be able to sleep profoundly. And another question would be, for positioning in space, we're told we have to master the 12 base mathematics because the space is on a 12 maths base maps sort of thing.
Teach us. We're a student. Explain what does it mean?
Well, we're normally working with 10-based mathematics, and computers work on a 2-based mathematics, on and off. But to position in space, apparently, according to, let's call them the maps, we have to manage a 12-based mathematics. Tesla talked about the 369 managing of the numbers, but apparently we're missing 2 other numbers. The up to 9 is the normal one, and then we got the 10th and the 11th number, which we are missing.
God help us.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. It's just that it depends what theory, what fits where, isn't it? It could be correct. We can never say it's wrong, but could be correct, but we have to find the key to it.
What numbers does God use?
I think 0.
Zero and infinity, perhaps. The 2 numbers that God uses.
Yeah, what numbers are superior civilizations use? Huh?
0.
Fine. Thank you. Thank you very much. And let's...
I think because everything goes back to the center. In English, you make what they call an oval shape of 0. In Arabic, and the rest is a dot.
There's a native language in Canada where they write starting from the very center of the page instead of the top or bottom. They start at the center because that's the origin.
Well,
they have different ways.
Yeah.
That's why they took away their. That's why they took away their language and made them go to the Aboriginal residential schools and took all the kids away from the native populations.
You know, if you,
now they're paying billions of dollars to repair that error. The government is billions, literally 24 billion just came up the other day.
For what? For repairing?
Part of the repairs to the native people for errors that were done in the past, and they've gotten quite a bit of benefits from all that.
It's like it's very because you don't do it. If you read English and on the sentence below read Farsi or Arabic, is amazing what a mayhem your eyes and your brain brings it. In English, you go left to right. In Farsi, you go from right to left.
It's the same problem in Spanish and English.
Yeah. And then what creates in what the state does a left to right is more suitable to left-handed people, or is it right to left more suited to the right-hand people? And then what happened? The people who have a left hand right in the right-hand language.
That's a problem we left-handers have. We've had all our lives.
No, we don't have a problem. That's a beauty. We write closer to our heart. We are romantic, huh?
Yeah, you're right there.
When we write with this and stuff like. Yeah, but the thing is, they tried, still in some families when the child is born, who with the left hand, they see some problem. What can we do? How can we get him to write with the right hand? They put the pen, the spoon, everything in their hand to get the right hand working. But they don't think that's the beauty of what we accept. We have to accept it the way it is. And it creates a long-term problem when these things are done. Once our parents are not mature to understand and appreciate the beauty of it, they see that there's something wrong if you write with the left hand. It creates mayhem. They do everything to make you to do with the right, because everybody, you don't fit into the thing. There is something, and you go somewhere, sorry, he's left-handed. Oh, instead of jolly, he's left-handed. This creates mayhem for us. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much. I hope we learned a little bit, we shared a little bit, and we meet again next week. And I hope by the time we meet next week, we will see another aggression of a religion, which I'm pretty sure we're on the verge of one of the worst wars to hit between the Christianity, the Jews, and the Muslims, all in the Holy Land. And I wish all the best for those who are trapped in it. And I promise we'll bring justice. Thank you very much for today. And be on your lines where we announce the conferences and send invitations to people. Like, please keep on sending all the invitations to your ambassadors. Don't say somebody else does it. If you're in England, print it, post it, they receive hard copy letters and the emails and everything else. Today when we do it, we'll release you the list of the embassies in London. And then you can still send it to your embassy in your country. If you're German, send one to, and you live in England, send one to England and send one to another country. We have to bring this peace process forward. And as I said,
next 2-3 years, once we complete our work with Chinese nation, Chinese government, I can put my head down, hopefully, and think that the humanitarians start the process of what they call commerce, and to what extent and how much we can accept and how much we can change. But I hope we still see each other tomorrow, see each other again next Thursday, and I hope the world will not be a different place and different points, but from what we see coming from Vatican, inside the stories and inside the information, they have instructed the mass killing of Iranians, and I hope we are wrong. But I would return the stones of Colosseum back where they came before I close my eye. Thank you very much for today, and see you next week.
Mr. Keshe, where are those forms available? The letter to diplomats and so on. Are they going to be on the?
We will post it on all the chats. We will post it with the list. I'll post it myself because there is one for your ambassadors and there's one for you to inform the others. And there's a list of embassies. We do ourselves. Our promoters are doing it. You will most probably, hopefully, as you've seen the other promotion from the American side is coming, the British promoters, we hope that we can come to an agreement with the national press and everything else. They can do it in next week or so. But you will see this presentation around the world as you've seen, and you put it on the screen in the past few minutes. When we told you we have put it out, we are going out. And it's done in a way, put it to your embassies in your countries and your ministers, that no one can stop the process. And it is out, it's in public, and we have the pleasure of the Chinese government representative has already agreed. The invitations are going out to them. They will be in a conference, and we will see if we still have an embassy and ambassador in London. We don't have an ambassador in London, but if our council would attend with the present situation, which is zoning up in what you call it in Middle East. Very interesting point to bring a closure. On the request I made to the Iranian leadership last week, Iran changed the tone and going into helping, what do you call it, to supporting the radical regimes, and they stood back and kept silence. And on Thursday last week, Iran announced, Friday announced that they will accept, on the line of the request of the Keshe Foundation, the students and university students of Palestine into Iran. They opened the door as a first step. And we held back and we heard nothing for 5 days, 6 days was silence. American administration listening to the open discussion of the Keshe Foundation that there will be no participation, no support of Palestinians the way they were hoping to come to give them an excuse. They moved their naval forces suddenly past 2 or 3 days to the position. And now, as we saw in the United Nations, up to now they were waiting for Iran to go in to start the mayhem. They brought a fantastic policy and line in United Nations that we're going to go to Iran, get Iran, because they helped them before they rocketed us. But they don't say, as it came to the Senate, how come the rockets which gave to Ukraine has ended up on killing American citizens in Palestine fired by the other side? So now you understand, we stopped the process of the war last week with the request of the Iranian and what we call leadership. And in my talks with them this morning, just prior to the teaching, everything as a on my request. We listened to what you said. And I said, the only thing you didn't listen to open the wide
gates back to Iran. We know what the next step will be. I was hoping to receive a direct instruction to announce this morning about what we were hoping to get, but the Americans, in response to us that we're not taking part, as we saw United Nations yesterday, and what their administration knows, we are going to go to get to Iran because they helped before. They don't say it's our own arms, Iran did nothing. Any excuse to go in. But I promise one thing to humanity. I make sure the nations who start this war will not exist on the map of this ban by their own doing, by their own action and nothing else. Not a single bloodshed. But there are ways when you're ashamed to be, you change. And only comes, as I said, when the man becomes shameful to kill, will change his habit. And it's very interesting what we might see in the next few days. As we know, Americans have planned a mass murder in Iran this Saturday, Sunday. And I hope we don't see it. I hope our leadership and whatever comes to their senses. But we wait and we'll see. And our request, I thank the Iranian leadership in accepting our request and withholding from any aggression talks or whatever or going to do. And this brought us to the point. And I hope that they would have listened further, not just open the door to the students, but to all the Palestinians. But they still would have they found another excuse to. The whole plan of the Americans is to empty Iran's central bank, one of the richest gold reserves over 2,500 years. And I'll make gold not to be counted for a cent. Thank you very much for today. See you next week.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you. Well, that brings to a close our 509th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, October 26, 2023. And we'll be back next week at the same time and place, so far as we know. And our next public teaching workshop is on October 31st with the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace and Justice with members of the Universal Council. And that starts at the 4 p.m. Central European time. I think there's a time change coming up on Sunday, October 29th. So it will be back to European, Central European time rather than Central European summer time. So there might be a change or alteration in the hours. So check your local time. In any case, the One Nation show will be at 4 p.m. Central European time. Okay, we'll go out again with our usual flight enhancement spaceship unit music version, but we did have a comment that's kind of funny from Joy in the YouTube, who says, I use these exact podcasts of the KF SSI for sleeping, and then I wake up to Rick's wild music at the end of the YouTube videos. Perhaps it's a good time to consider changing that. The smiley face. So actually that has been considered recently, so maybe that's something we'll do, is to offer a more peaceful ending to our workshops. Maybe it's time for that. In any case, not for today. We'll wake people up a little. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. And we look forward to seeing you in the next public teachings. Thank you, Mr. Keshe, once again for being here for everyone. And We wish the results of our efforts here be used for all beings everywhere. Okay, bye for now.